Hey everyone, welcome to my channel again. Today I've been just doing unboxings and everything, but I thought I'd do a little something different. I tried it but never posted it, a sort of a get ready with me situation. I'm gonna try a few new products and sort of get a first impression with them, but also while we're sort of getting ready, or while I'm getting ready, putting my makeup on, we will discuss a little bit about what I'm being entertained by on the small screen. One of the things I ultimately want to do is try to combine Get Ready With Me's with reviews and recaps of TV shows or movies, something along those lines. So here's sort of a little quick test. And we'll go from there. We'll just talk. I'm not going to go over I'm going to talk about a few of the shows that I'm watching, but I'm only going to kind of give my opinions about them. I may give a little bit of a background on them, but that's about it. Not going over anything that's for the most part happening in the show. So can kind of keep things a little short. So what I've done already, I've done my brows as best as I can. And I do have primer on. In fact, the primer I decided to use although it's not new, but it's new to me, is I got it in the most recent BoxyCharm Premium, is by LYS, and it's the Secure Skin Gripping Serum Primer. So I have that on. I've only used it once by itself, actually, and I thought it was okay. Nothing great or bad or anything like that, but we'll see how it'll do with makeup. Before we get into my face aspect, I thought we'll start with the eyes. And one of the new products that's recently come out is the new Nomad palette. This is the Whistler palette, and they're an indie brand. They focus on destinations as far as the theming of their palette. So this was sort of a nice thing to get. I saw a few reviews on it. And I'll show toward the end, I'll add some swatches. But let me show you the palette. We've got 15 shades. And it's a pretty palette. So here's the component itself, back. And my understanding with this is that part of the proceeds go to, in this case, it looks like the Whistler Community Foundation. So that's located in Canada, British Columbia. All right. Okay. And there's a mirror. I will just leave this little slip on. There's a mirror here. But here's the palette. Pretty colors. I thought what I would focus on today, sort of, although there's no purples, I figured we'll focus on the blues. There are a couple of duochromes, but not with the black base. This one here is a duochrome or multichrome, and this one here. And they have little pun names. They also have little imprints. The Nomad logo, skis, a ski bunny, a little mountains, a moose, a fox. I guess this is a bear because it's called Berry Cool. And then an elk. Yeah, moose and elk. Make sure those are the same thing. So cute little. So we'll focus on the blue look. All right. So let's go ahead and let me first start. I forgot to get my brushes ready. Okay. I'm going to try out these new brushes that I got from the Beautylish Lucky Bag that I got. And these are from Unit. And I recently found out that the Unit brand is an in-house brand for Beautylish. But they're good quality brushes. Okay. So I think what we'll do with the crease colors, we're going to use a smaller one. This is the 309. All right, so the eye primer I'm going to use is by Fenty. This is the Pro Filt'r eye primer. So one of the shows that I'm currently watching, it's on HBO Max, It is Euphoria. We're in the second season. The star of the show is Zendaya. If you're not familiar with her, if you're familiar with the Marvel, or Sony actually is the one that technically owns it, but she is MJ on the new Spider-Mans with Tom Holland in this current franchise. She's MJ. But she's also, her background is she was a singer. She's been on some Disney shows and things like that. But in this case, this is not sort of a, Euphoria is by no means a happy-go-lucky show, by no means whatsoever. Okay, so we've got the primer on. Okay, so let's let that sort of tap down a little bit. Make sure there's no creases. Okay. All right, so let me cut that. So what we'll do is Snow Bunny, which is a light blue, is my transition sort of crease shade. Getting a little kick up, a little fallout. It's okay. I wasn't sure how it would sort of perform in that aspect, so okay. Very good. So to get back on that, so this is the character that Zendaya plays. Her name is Rue. They're in high school, so these are high school students. And everybody is going, all the high school students are well, no, I should say all, but the main characters are all going through something. It looks like this is set in California, is where this series is set. And I don't recall high school being, and maybe I was protected a bit, but being so just, I don't know, very serious. This is a very serious show with some very heavy adult themes. I mean, I know in high school that's where you're finding yourself out, or beginning to find yourself out, let's put it that way. But man, there is a lot of sex in this, and I'm not naive enough to know that sex does not go on in high school, but it's pretty intense with some of the themes that they are focused on. Rue in particular, she actually is playing a drug addict, and in going through some issues, she became, in part because she hadn't been able to deal with the death of her father. Their father died of cancer when she was in her earlier teens, and when he was going through that issue, she experimented or was curious about some of the drugs that he was taking, and that's how she sort of felt how they were being made, that's how she sort of got into drugs in terms of how they made her feel and so on, and dealing with that. And apparently I think she may be, they don't talk about it, but they bring up how she was a bit of an odd younger child. So I don't know if they're trying to say that maybe she's on the spectrum by some, possibly, I don't know. But there was issues with that and how her parents dealt with that and so on. So drugs helped her in that way as well feel, in her mind, normal. But she is heavily into drugs. Last season had her trying to quit drugs and going into rehab and so on. This season she's sort of fallen out of rehab, and she's reconnected with her love interest that she met. And this is a transgendered girl. Her name is, I wrote it down now, it's Jules. And and everything like that. So they are best friends, but also there is a relationship that's going on, and how they're dealing with currently how they're dealing with Rue's addictions and so on. So, and they've introduced a new character. His name is Elliot, and at the moment and from terms of the episodes, he is helping in a sense, or sort of condoning Rue's habits, because he himself does drugs. He's not to the level that she is in terms of being completely involved in drugs to where that is her focus. But he is an enabler to some degree. Okay. The next shade I'm going to kind of use on the V is this shade right here, this dark blue. It's called Nomad. It's dark in the palette, but I'm seeing just on this white, and I'm using the same brush. I did clean it off. I'm using the same brush. It's coming up a little, as you can see. I'll put it up against a little lighter, but we'll see how it goes. We've got a black, so if I feel like I need to deepen it, we can deepen it with the black here. But we're going to go on the outer V with this. Okay, so, and then there's other characters. There is Nate. He is the athlete, dealing with his father, whose name is Cal, and has his own issues, and taking it out on his kids. He's sort of the villain, if you will, of the series. And it makes Nate also a bit of a villain too. We're just going to stamp this in the corner and sort of deepen up the crease. I'm going to do the other side and reblend that lighter blue towards the top, sort of bring it back in. Okay. Nate was dating a girl named Maddie. She is cheerleader. She sort of typifies the mean girl trope, but in my mind, a bit worse. They've broken up in this new, from last season and everything. Then you have her friend Cassie, who's going through issues. Her father and her is an addict himself, but is no longer part of the family. But his issues have played a bit of a role into their psychology. Cassie is she is a needy sort of person and feels she needs to be in relationships. So there's that. And this new season, she's got a bit of a secret relationship because her best friend is Maddie, the ex of Nate, the athlete. But she is secretly seeing Nate, but has issues with it because she feels very guilty about doing this behind her friend's back. And she herself wanted to be out of relationship and just focus on herself and so on. You then have the other issue with Nate is that it turns his father has some secrets that he knows of, that he's known for some time, even as a child. And these secrets the father deals with, like I said, he takes it out on his boys, in particular Nate. That we don't know why. There's speculation on that. Because there's 2 boys, but we noticed in a family picture that there were 3 little boys in an earlier picture. So there's a lot of curiosity as far as where is this third child, third boy. They're not all, the oldest is a young adult. Nate, of course, is in high school. So I'm assuming that the other child is a younger child. Maybe would have been, if he's no longer there, preteen or something like that. So that could be an issue in terms of why the father takes his angst out on his son, but it makes Nate is a bit of an a-hole. That's why I said his father's a villain, but Nate himself is a villain too. But you have to sort of decide, do you give him I'm going to sort of just blend this over the blue at the top here. By the way, I should preface, I am not a makeup artist, and I'm just getting back into makeup. And before I did, I stayed away from eyeshadows because of my hooded eyes. I didn't quite figure out how it would work. But over and all, it's an intense, very intense show. Interesting to watch it, and I'm liking sort of the ombre that's coming out. I want to deepen that blue up a bit, but you know, HBO does have a lot of good shows. Will sort of tell you, you know, it's a lot of sexual content and things like that, heavy issues, drugs, that sort of thing. So take it, you know, take it or leave it, or take it with a grain of salt. But it is salt, but it is very, very interesting. I just don't recall these heavy issues with, you know, with all these, with being in high school, but maybe times are different, and so on. Also great music as far as the soundtrack. It's also pretty good too, by the way, as an aside. Another show that I'm watching that's bit more upbeat, and it's on Netflix. This show has, as far as people liking it, it's mixed reviews, but Netflix liked it enough that they brought out the second season. It's called Emily in Paris, and it's, I guess, a bit of a rom-com series. Emily is from Chicago. She is in marketing, and she ended up taking the place of her boss and going to Paris and working with a marketing firm there. And of course, it's produced by the same person that produced, I don't know if he was directing or produced Sex and the City, but Darren Star, but he's definitely the producer here. And I think they were trying to, with the clothes, but people don't like her clothes, but I think that's where they were trying to go. But it turns out it's kind of like and maybe they were trying to be this way, sort of the cliche American tourist in France who thinks they're chic in their dressing and think they're dressing like Parisians, but they're not. So her clothes are part of the character in a sense. It's lighthearted, and everything. What's going on there, of course, is her trying to, you know, not better herself, but become more involved in the Parisian way of life, understand what's going, you know, these people that she's dealing with, and so on. She meets a guy, of course, as they all are, and turns out this guy has a relationship with somebody else that he was deeply involved with until he sort of met her. He's an up-and-coming chef, but she, of course, befriends his girlfriend, but toward the end of last season, of course, you know the basic stuff. She slept with him and is dealing with that in this new season. So, you know, it's a bit of a comedy and everything, and you know, basically her trials and tribulations of Parisian life and trying to be an American in Paris and so on. I think with this particular season, they're bringing in, possibly, it's hard to say, it's because I'm halfway or almost done with the season, so they kind of brought this new character in late in the season, so I don't know if they're trying to create some sort of love triangle. I'm not sure. I actually like this character. He's from London, and you know, she's met him in her French class that she's taking so that she can become better in French. But he's sort of like, I'm just here temporarily for my job. They required me to take this class. It's just like going to the DMV to go get your driver's license. I'm just here. But, so she's trying to distance herself from her other love interest, because she's trying to, you know, maintain her friendship with the person she betrayed, and so on. So I'm going to deepen this blue up here just a little bit in the corner, if it'll deepen up. Yeah, a little bit here. I'm going in kind of lightly. We'll go back over it with the blue, I think. Okay. Yeah. So that's an interesting show. It's on Netflix. It's in season 2 if you want to catch it. This eye I have a hard time because I wear glasses and I don't have glasses on, and this is my weak eye. So it's a little harder, and I'm in the big mirror, but for some reason it's a little harder to see, but okay. So that's one. As you can see, I'm not going into it too deeply with the show. It's an okay show. It's entertaining, but you can check it out. Emily in Paris. It's on Netflix. So there's that. Show that I'm rewatching, and it just finished its final season. I do like a lot of sci-fi. Is The Expanse, and it started out on the Sci-Fi Channel. It's based off, and they're saying, and I want to go in and read the books, but it's based off a book series called The Expanse, and they are saying now people who are sci-fi fans and everything like that, they are saying it's one of the most underrated, but one of the best sci-fi shows in that it keeps the science close. As far as, it's as far as what to expect and anticipate if you're actually living out in space. And it's actually set not 200 years into the future, which is not all that far into the future. I mean, 200 sounds like a lot, but in general, it's not that far. It's set in the 23rd century. And basically we have, colonized Mars, and in a sense colonized some of the other outer planets or outer moons. We can't, of course, you can't colonize Jupiter or Saturn, but the moons, a lot of the moons. And in a sense with this, it's created, and part of the colonization, part of the reason behind it is because, of course, overpopulation on Earth and everything like that, environmental issues and those type of things. But it's kind of sort of created 3 groups of people, if you will. You've got your Earthers, as the Beltas call them, Earthers. You have your Mars folks, or Martians, that's what they're called, and then you have your Belters. And the Belters are sort of on the low end of labor of the group. That's how they went out, and because they're mining the moons, mining asteroids and things like that, but ultimately in order to do that, they have lived generations in space, and it's made it very difficult for them to, of course, survive on Mars, and in particular even Earth, which is 1G gravity. The Martians, the history of that is that, and the Belters call the Martians and the Earthers overall inners. The inners is what we're called, and they've been taken advantage of by the inners. A lot of the Earthers, because Earth provides both to Mars still and to the Belters resources. Water is the biggest resource, more than precious metals. And in terms of the Belters, air, actually in terms of Mars. So water and air, that's what's required. Those are the major resources out there. And apparently the Earthers in their history have been stingy sometimes in terms of their understanding to try and keep the Belters in line. It's kind of in a sense what you deal with here on Earth, people who are in these I'm going to call them blue collar jobs, manufacturing, mining, and things like that. They're taken advantage of, paid very little in terms of wages and so on. So you do have that. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to use this duochrome all over the lid. Hopefully we'll see how that works. And it is called Ski Bum. It sounds like sebum, but it's Ski Bum. Okay, so we're going to use this packer brush, the 308. Okay, and put that all over the lid. See how this works. I am going to spray it. I spray with water but I know people spray with setting spray and so on. So let's see how Ski Bum works. But the show is on. Oh, this is very pretty. I don't know. Can you guys see? It's got a purple blue shift. Oh, quite pretty. Let me get a little more. But it's the show starts off with alien, an alien, not invasion or anything like that. They find something alien. I won't get into that so you can watch it. And that's in the first couple of seasons. And intermingled with that, of course, is all the issues that have been going on for many generations and so on. But this new discovery, this alien discovery, poses a potential power for Mars, who, by the way, has been for quite a long time they're wanting their independence and ultimately got their independence, but they're always in the back of their minds thinking they will end up going into war with the Earth folks. So they have been for 100 years honing their weapons and their skills in terms of war, of course. Oh. Okay. But this new alien thing that was found poses to be a game changer for all of them. Earth, Mars, and the Belters. But so you're going through all of that, and it's very good. You get a lot of science in it in terms of showing what people experience out in space. One thing what they show in the movies is that, you immediately freeze in space. But actually that's not true. You can they've got it down. If you're prepared enough, you might get maybe a minute 30 if you're prepared enough. If you're without a suit and a helmet, if you're prepared enough, because part of you might freeze, but part of you facing the sun may not. Actually, you might actually burn because, of course, there's no atmosphere that's in your natural UV. So there is that. You don't want to hold your breath in space. You want to release it and exhale. No air in the lungs, because of no pressure is what will burst your lungs. It's kind of what they deal with in terms of a little bit with scuba diving. So there's all of that, but you get to see that. You get to see issues in terms of how they deal with gravity and so on. And then there's the issue of how they deal with these long distances in terms of, which is what we deal with now, of course. Can we travel these long distances? All right, let's see. Before I do I think what I'll do with the inner corner just to show, but we'll start with the rest of my foundations. I'll go in with this on the inner corner. And this is a shimmer here. This, by the way, is Powder Specialist. And then this here is Black Comb. I guess it's the mountain range because there's a little mountain here. This is a shimmer. And I'm thinking of putting that under the eye, going back with Snow Bunny. I want to try to make sure my eyes are open because I do have small eyes. But I'm liking the look so far. And the purple, it works out because this purple shirt, the purple is coming through. Oh, I do see some fallout with that iridescent shade. So let me see if that brushes away. Yeah. Okay. All right. Brushes, for the most part, brushes away. Let's wet this a little bit. So if you're into sci-fi, The Expanse is really good. They're only going to 6 seasons. It's apparently there are 9 books in a series with some little what they call novellas, which they bring out into this this 6th and final season. It is over. The season is over, but it's still on Prime, Amazon Prime. So if you're a Prime member, you have access to that. All right, so let's go, before we finish, let's get into the foundation. I am going to do 2 things. I bought ColourPop's new Pretty and Fresh foundation, powder foundation, and this is in dark 20. And then I also, this is not new, but I thought, let me go ahead and get it. I bought their tinted moisturizer, so I thought I'd use the both of them. This is underneath, and this is also in dark, it says dark 20 in, so this is neutral. So we'll see how that works. All right, we're at 32 minutes. Oh, this is kind of hard. Just get ready with me. Okay. So before we'll put on the tinted moisturizer. I'm going to use a brush. I'm going to try this, the Sonia Kashuk. This is the buffing foundation brush. So we will see how this goes on. Another show that I'm watching, it's on HBO. It is called, it's interesting, it's a foreign show. And at first I thought it was Swedish, but it's Norwegian, so Norway. They're speaking Norwegian. And it's in the 2nd season. It's a bit funny and everything. It's called The Foreigners. And basically what's happened, just to kind of give you an idea of what's happened, or what's going on, the Beforeigners are people who have come from the past. They're now getting into, we're getting into in the 2nd season, how this actually may be not a natural, some weird natural phenomena that happened. That's what you get in the 1st season. But maybe there's something, people a little bit more involved. Maybe it's still natural, but people are taking advantage of it. It's hard to say. But anyway, what's happened is people from 3 different eras. You have 10,000 BC, I think, or early caveman. You have people from the Victorian age, and you have, in the case of Oslo or Norway, where they're at, Vikings. But apparently it's happening all around the world, and for some reason it happens in water. But when it first started, these people just came up and they had to be rescued from the ocean, so they're coming up through the ocean. But it's happening all over the world. And as it relates to that particular region where they are, they're dealing with the people that would be from their area. So it is kind of funny. So what's the behind the scenes part of things in terms of how people are dealing with it is, of course, how they're handling with it, because it's just they don't know when it's going to stop. It's been happening for some time, and and they don't know why, but they have to. It's set to now, of course, the 21st century, and they have to work with these people. Some adapt and some don't. And what you get is, you see along the streets, you see how, have markets, you see cavemen. There's one that they would show, one caveman guy, he's never adapted really well, but he's, he wears his caveman gear, eats his food wherever he finds it. They had one little scene that was kind of funny, where they had to go to this one location, and it's it's a mystery. So you have cops. You have a cop from the future, and you turn out you have a cop from now. I shouldn't say the future, a cop from now, but you have an ex-Viking warrior. She's from the past. She's an ex-Viking warrior, and she's adapted well enough to go to, you know, the police academy and things like that, and I guess immediately become a detective. I don't know, and I don't know how long she had been there to the point where she can become a detective. I know that's how. Well, it's probably a little bit of the luck of the draw, because, you know, the issue of having foreigners, and we're dealing with that here in the U.S. when you have refugees and things like that, is you want to incorporate them into society. You try to do things a little bit faster, and so you add. So in that sense, they may have created a program in the sense where they want to make sure they have, and they call them foreigners, are also part of the police squad and things like that, and, you know, so that there's opportunity there. So, but she's a good detective. But what's in the first season, you have her sort of dealing with things like she had dropped some moss in the locker room, and her boss comes in, "What's this for?" We don't know what it's for when we're first introduced to her. But then later on, she's with her partner, who's a cop from the present, and she asks him to stop because she notices a particular moss, and she has no tact whatsoever. She goes, "Stop the car." She goes out, puts the moss, and she starts stuffing it down her pants. So we're like, oh, it's that time of month. So that's what's happening there. All right. So excuse me, get a little bit of humor. Oh, I was mentioning the cave guy. They were walking to an area that they had to go to, and the cave guy was eating berries. And what was funny was, all of a sudden when he saw them, they could see him too, but he decided to freeze. And so that was a little cute little funny little thing there. All right, so this comes with the little, and I've tried it, but I'm going to put it on with a brush. And this brush is from Juvia's Place. It's one of the brush, not the brush, the most recent brush set that they have, which is pretty, but I like this brush. So we're gonna try this. Let's see how it goes, see what kind of coverage we get. And so this is a denser brush than a powder brush. If you use more of a powder brush, because it says you can use this also like a setting powder too, so but we're going to use it like a foundation. So let's see what kind. As you can see, I have darkness here, but got some decent coverage, a little bit of coverage with the foundation, the moisturizer, tinted moisturizer. All right, okay, it's a little light, but not too bad. It'll work itself out. I like how it goes on. I'm not looking too cakey. We'll try to build it up, particularly in areas. I didn't put concealer. Oh, I was gonna, we'll try the contour over the powder. So we'll try that over the powder. But, so, you know, so like I said, sort of, and I don't want to call it the behind the scenes, but the underlying aspect is how everybody is trying to work together and so on. And everything like that. But in the midst, you have, of course, these mysteries and whatnot. This current season is actually dealing with Jack the Ripper. He has migrated, apparently, from, there's murders, and they're reminiscent of Jack the Ripper murders. And, of course, he's migrated somehow from, he had murdered people in Britain, and so now they're working with the Scotland Yard in this particular season with regards to Jack the Ripper. You also have, that's one side of the story. Another part of the story is, since this is Vikings, as these people are beginning to show up, during the Viking period, there was a lot of apparently turmoil in this sort of period that's popping up, and that Christianity was beginning to make its way into sort of the Viking culture. So you have these folks that are popping up into the present are during that time where you had a lot of chaos and fighting amongst themselves in terms of Christians versus pagans, if you will. And so we've got potentially King Olaf, who was the founder of Christianity in that part of the region. So he has shown up, but then he had fought against, and I can't think of his name now. He goes by Tommy, and apparently with this show, some of them have a memory, but some of them don't have a memory, and it begins to come back, and so on. So there's that. So they're also trying to say, like King Olaf is trying to say, I am King Olaf, but he has to go through the bureaucracy of this time period. And so you get to see sort of how they're trying to deal with this time period where they would be able to do things, what they wanted, and so on. And they can't do that here. Okay. All right. So let's see. What are we thinking with the foundation? I should... the foundation powder. It doesn't look too cakey to me. And you get decent coverage. Not getting full coverage, but decent coverage, I think. So medium coverage. And I forgot to do things like concealer and stuff like that. Okay. All right, so let's do that. Let's do the base. We'll do it over the powder, so I guess that's okay.
We'll start with the contour. I'm using Fenty's her matchsticks. This one is in Espresso. Still trying to figure out contour, where to put it. I just don't know. I'm thinking here. So we'll see how this does over the powder. Okay, we're going to use the same brush to blend it out. I probably came down too far, so I'm still trying to figure out. Oh, this was looking a little better.
Okay, so those are some of the shows that I am watching and intrigued by. Beforeigners, I should have said, is also on HBO Max. I don't know how many seasons there are of it because it's sort of an import. Okay. Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and finish up the eyes. So I was going to use, before we do the inner highlight, let's go ahead and do the bottom lash, and we're going to use, from Unit, we're going to use this 310, and I'm going to go in with first this black comb, which is shimmer. We're going to wet that just so that it doesn't break down into the eyes. I'm going to put that on my outer lid, outer under eye. Oh, look at that. Let's do the other side. And then we're going to clean that off. Hopefully, well, actually, let's just grab another brush like that. And I'm going to go in, back in with, oh, let me not show the mirror. Back in with Snow Bunny, the blue here. I'm going to put that on my inner. Not quite, because I'm going to use a shimmer, and I'm going to drag that across the dark blue too, just to sort of lighten it up a little. Blend it with that dark blue. See how that works. It's not showing up as much what I thought it would do. Maybe the brush, cheaper brush, I'm not sure where I got this brush. All right, so we're gonna take that packer brush, we're gonna use the other side, the 308, and we're gonna go in, I'm gonna clean it off a little bit on the back side. We're gonna do the inner corner. Well, maybe what we'll do the inner corner. I was going to go with Powder Specialist. Well, yeah, let's try it. Powder Specialist. See what it does. It's a duochrome. So, and do inner eye. Oh, it's coming up. Okay. It is purple. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, purple. Given that, I might go in just a little bit with the ski in, or it looks like ski in, which is this gold champagne. Just to brighten it up a little bit more. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and I'm going to go off camera and finish my eye. So there is my completed eye look. I'm impressed. A little bit of fallout. let's just go ahead and finish up the lips. I think we'll just, I wanted to use, oh, I was going to go in bright. I'm not going anywhere, so we're gonna go bright. This was the Uma, and it's a lip stain. I didn't mention that before. It's actually a lip stain. So we will go in with that in Cray Cray. We're gonna go with a bold eye and a bold lip. Okay, there we go. What do you think? Okay, so if you enjoyed, if you enjoyed what you saw, you like this look, I'll have links to Nomad Cosmetics, along with links to the other products that I use down in the description box. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed. So again, if you liked it, thumbs up, and hope you subscribe, and hope to see you soon. All right, everybody, have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye.